Hello, my name is John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George. I call it the capital of northern British Columbia. And for all those people from around the world, this is an absolute fabulous place, BC, Canada, period, but also BC, especially northern BC. So if you plan a visit, come to Prince George, come to northern BC. And I got a special guest today, and her name is Aimee Cassie.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, John.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you originate from Prince George or northern BC, right?
I do, born and raised in Prince George, and we're raising our family here, so I'm a Prince George girl and northern girl at heart.
Okay, and you have how many children?
I have 4 girls.
4 girls?
4 girls, so.
How old are they?
So my oldest is 12, and then my middle one is 11, and then I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, so yeah.
Give me their names.
Meadow, Samantha, Teresa.
Meadows is the oldest?
Meadow is the oldest, yep.
Yeah.
Samantha.
Yeah.
Macy is my youngest, and Teresa is my middle child.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it keeps you busy in addition to your career, right?
Keeps me on my toes.
Yeah. So Prince George, I always kind of find that Prince George, I came here in 1965. It was a boom town then.
Yeah.
People can't come and go, and and raising families was not the best place in the world. I believe now it is the best place in the world.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Prince George, I mean, it's been home forever, but it's such a wonderful community. We've got everything that a big city would have, but we're proud to be the North, and I think that's really important for a lot of people here. So
and so if I look at northern BC and Prince George in particular, we got an okay climate, beautiful climate in my opinion, because I like the 4 seasons.
Yep.
We have winter, spring, and we are now touching on spring coming around the corner, and then obviously summer, and then fall. Having the seasons is beautiful, and then all around us is a lot of forest all around us. Probably we have 50, 60, 70 lakes all within about 50 miles all around us.
Yep.
And wildlife all close by. You on a daily basis, you can encounter it virtually driving around the Prince George area.
Absolutely, and then we've got the university here, which is great. We've got the Northern Medical Program here. Prince George is really advancing.
College of New Caledonia.
College of New Caledonia here.
And then Cancer Clinic, and we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yep.
And in the hospital, and so it is maturing.
Yes.
And COVID has been a tough period for all of us, but it has put the focus on areas and regions like Prince George, is saying that maybe you, meaning in the general sense, living in a big community or a big city with all the concrete and all the hour-long traffic to get to work, an hour and a half in some cases, like places like Prince George have a huge potential for jobs and then for careers. And in terms of the future, it will grow a lot.
Absolutely, and it's still affordable here for the most part, right? Which is really important, especially for young families.
Yeah, and that again is very important, right?
Yes, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your background in terms of, so you were growing up here, then you went to school here. Where did you go from there?
I did. So I went to school. I actually went into, I wanted to be RCMP and went into criminology, and tried a few career paths to see if that was a fit for me, and I didn't find my passion. And so I worked with McDonald's restaurants actually for a number of years as a restaurant manager, and then I went into banking and did some time there. And then from there, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And so I helped my mom with her cancer journey and took care of her for about a year and a half. And then I went back to work after my mom unfortunately had passed away. I went back to work, and it didn't connect with me anymore. I felt like there had to be more to life. I wasn't really passionate about what I was doing. So I started volunteering with the Canadian Cancer Society, and really found volunteering filled my cup, and I really found my passion there. And then a position opened up with the Canadian Cancer Society. And so I joined them in a paid position, running Relay for Life, and did that for, 6 or 7 years. And then through COVID, I actually moved over to Spirit of the North Healthcare Foundation.
Yeah, which you're doing now.
Which I'm doing now.
And you're the CEO.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful organization. And I think I found my passion for nonprofit. And once you have a career where you found your passion, it's really hard to do anything else.
Yeah.
Because it's such a great feeling. It doesn't feel like work.
It can be so rewarding, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the Relay of Life, does that still exist today?
No, they've unfortunately canceled it this year, which is
Why?
really sad. I don't know the inner workings as to why they canceled it. I know it had to go virtual through COVID, which is understandable.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I had left after midway through COVID. But it's really sad because I think beyond a fundraiser, that event really did a lot for people that were facing cancer, for their families, showed them that they were part of a community, that they had support.
Especially in the North, right?
Oh, the North, for a number of years, we were number one in Canada.
Exactly.
Raised, I believe it was over $600,000 a year.
Right.
It was a really incredible event. And I think for Relay, beyond the fundraiser.
And you had, a major team, and you were a big part of that.
We had the best committee. It was all volunteer led, which is once you get a group of passionate individuals around a table, united on a cause, that's when magic happens. So Prince George had a lot to be proud of with Relay. They were Relay City for a long time.
Yeah, so I still don't quite understand why it is not there any longer.
Yeah.
Is it because of lack of volunteers, or is it because the Cancer Society is not behind it fully, or what are the reasons? I'm not talking about local, I'm talking provincial.
I think, and I can't speak for them, but I think through COVID, a lot of organizations, especially nonprofits, had to adapt and had to change how we operated.
Right.
And so I think a lot of that has to do with why it was canceled, is they had to change how they operated. Things got centralized, and you lose that community piece when things get centralized. And it was tough. It was a big part of our community for a long time. And I think, that being said, the passion is definitely not gone from this community. No. The need is not gone.
No.
The connection piece that Relay had is definitely not gone.
Yeah, the Wheeling Warriors are quite involved as well.
They are a huge group in town. Yeah, they're wonderful. Karen
Pinch and James
Galloway,
they are doing a fantastic job. And they have raised about $1 million.
Yes, it's incredible.
Of which all of it stays in the North, right?
Yes.
I think that is very, very critical.
That was one of the reasons when I made the move over to Spirit of the North, it was because for a long time I had fundraised for a national organization, and I'm very passionate about it, and I believe very, very, very much in the cancer cause and cancer research.
Yeah.
But as a fundraiser, when you fundraise for Spirit of the North, or in my position with Spirit of the North, you fundraise for a specific piece of equipment. And when that equipment arrives, you get to go up to whatever floor it is in the hospital and see it in use.
Yeah.
And that, gets used on your friends and family and neighbors.
Right?
Yeah, it's that tangible piece.
Yeah.
That community piece that really connected with me when I was looking at joining the team at Spirit. And so I'm so thankful I did, because it just, as a fundraiser, you can't ask for anything more than to have that community connection. Yeah.
No, I'm still kind of not sure as to, so the way it worked then in Spirit of the North was with the fundraising, the money stayed in the North as well?
Yeah, so with Spirit, all of the money we raise stays in the North.
Right.
So we will, basically how it works is the provincial government has their, or I should say Northern Health has their list of priorities for equipment they'd like to fund.
Right.
And when the provincial government comes through with the budget, obviously not everything makes the cut.
Yeah.
And so quite often they'll reach out to us and say, hey, we've got these priorities. is this something that you think donors would be interested in funding?
Right.
And so a lot of the time we'll run with those pieces of equipment. A lot of the time too, we hear from frontline staff that say, hey, we need this piece of equipment.
Right.
And we can work with our donors to fundraise for it and bring that diagnostic equipment to Prince George, to our northern communities.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So now you are fully involved with the new organization, the Spirit of the North Health.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that in terms of your role there.
Yeah, so we've got an incredible team at Spirit. I'm very lucky to work with such an incredible group of team members as well as volunteers.
Yeah.
So we do a number of events each year, but we really look to fund pieces of equipment and programs that are going to bring different services to northern BC. Because I think what we see a lot in the north, we live in, I would argue, one of the most beautiful places in the world.
No question.
No question. But with that comes unique challenges because we are so separated here. We have such a vast area that we cover. So we have to think outside the box in the services that we bring.
So what is your area now?
So we are Northern Health. So the entire northern half of the province is what Spirit of the North will fund.
Yeah, so just for our guests, our international guests, but also the national ones, just to give them a description of BC, is a large province. We are exactly, some people may say Vanderhoof is, but I say for this discussion, Prince George is, so we are about 750 kilometers north of Vancouver.
Yep.
That's big. And then another 750 kilometers towards the Yukon border.
Exactly.
And the same across, to Prince Rupert from here is about the same distance.
Yes.
And to the Alberta border. So it is a huge area.
Huge area. There's so many facilities that Spirit of the North will fund equipment and programs for. So we really have to think outside the box often.
Yeah.
One of the cool programs that we were really pleased to fund over this past year was a mobile ultrasound program. A mobile ultrasound program.
Okay.
So we've purchased, with the help of our donors, 3 mobile ultrasound units that travel with sonographers throughout northern BC, and they go into these really remote communities that don't have sonographers and don't have ultrasounds. So where someone from Takla would have to travel into Prince George to get an ultrasound, and ultrasound is a basic level of care.
Exactly.
We are now able to have these mobile units go into these communities and save residents that travel. So we've got some unique challenges up here, and we have to think outside the box for how to bring services to the north.
Yeah. And since when do you have those now?
So we've actually just done the program. It just launched a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And we've got the sonographers that are traveling to these communities, and which is wonderful. We were thrilled. Northern Health asked us if this would be something our donors would be interested in, and we right away jumped on it because we knew that, hey, this significantly closes a barrier to care for people, eliminates travel for people, eliminates wait times, and that's really what Spirit of the North is about.
And in terms of diagnosis, one of the first things that they do is ultrasound.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to be, way back in some small community, to get to Prince George, the center, get a booking, then try to make your way here, is all kinds of challenges that most people don't even think about.
No, exactly. You're looking at traveling here. If it's in the winter time, you're traveling on winter roads. Lodging. You're taking time off work. I mean, there's significant barriers for people.
Yeah.
And that's really where Spirit of the North can lean in and say, hey, well, what can we do here to make this easier for our northern residents? So.
Yeah. And obviously, and you already touched on it. We have now the University of Northern British Columbia, UNBC, already for how many years now? I was so involved in it, about 25, 30 years.
Because I remember it opening as a young girl. So.
Yeah, time goes so quick, right? and then we have also a medical clinic attached to it.
Yep.
Where it trains in doctors and specialty medicine, and they are again the hospital is now called the Hospital of Northern British Columbia, UNBC,
Yeah.
Hospital of Northern British
University
Columbia.
Hospital of Northern British Columbia, yeah.
And which, with all due respect, was already here in the mid-60s when I came here, or a big portion of it, but just relatively recently a cancer clinic was attached to it, which is amazing, and you will know that more than most people do. You know that some of the specialties that are being developed there are of a world classic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We actually, so our Spirit Day last year, Dave Mothis and his team wanted to fundraise for precision radiation. So we were thrilled to be able to support them with that. And so we featured precision radiation as part of Spirit Day. And so they raised over $235,000
Wow.
for precision radiation. So for the actual radiation couch.
Yeah.
Because Spirit really focuses on programs and equipment. So
Yeah.
the money that we raise stays in the north and it focuses on the programs and
Yeah.
equipment. So we said to BC Cancer, how can we support precision radiation?
Yeah.
And they had the radiation couch, and they said,
Yeah.
well, we really need this couch. It's about $1 million.
Yeah.
And so we were thrilled to be able to support them with that. So the current couch goes up and down and right and left, and so you're positioning patients quite a bit.
Yeah.
Where the new couch goes 360 in all directions. So you can really cut down the radiation time for patients, which we need to do. Yeah.
And position radiation for our listeners again and the people that watch the show is that what was developed here was of world quality, and people from far and wide are drawing on the knowledge that was developed here, and especially with I did a couple of tours through the cancer clinic, and I'm always absolutely totally amazed as to what we have. And precision radiation means that rather than having to put radiation on a big area, they can do it to a fraction of a millimeter, virtually focus on the areas of cancer or whatever they
Exactly.
are. Yeah.
It's incredible, and to have that world-class research being done here and that world-class treatment being done here, that's something we can all be really proud of. So we were thrilled to be able to support that.
Yeah, and then every time I drive by there, I look at it altogether different now. It's not just a beautiful building and part from the hospital and say I have to stay out of there. But by having been in there several times, I have gone around and saying, it gives you meaning the people around here a great deal of comfort knowing that we have that level of expertise, that type of facility. And then it becomes obviously a question is, okay, we got that, where do we go from here?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, for a lot of years in the north, cancer care was the gap.
Yeah.
That was really the gap that we saw.
No question.
And we've been able to close that gap significantly, and that's something we can all be really proud of.
Yeah.
Now the biggest gap that we see is with respect to cardiac care in northern BC. That is something that we have to work to close, and Spirit has really been championing that for a couple of years now. It's been our area of greatest need, but we've really dug into that to see how we can close that gap.
And what do you visualize as to where do we go?
So we're not the experts, so we lean on experts to tell us, okay, what does this look like? What can we fund? So they've asked, Northern Health asked us to help fund the cardiac care unit, which will be at UHNBC. So we have rounded out funding for that unit. So that's just shy of $1 million. And that will be just shy of $1 million. Okay. That'll be for phase 1 of the cardiac strategy for Northern BC. So that's phase 1 of a 4-phase approach. The more you get into it, the more you realize it's not just build it and suddenly we've got the staff and expertise for it. We have to do this incrementally to make sure that we've got everything that we need to properly close this gap. So they've started working on the cardiac care unit, which will be in UHNBC. That'll be phase 1, and then we'll move on to phase 2 and phase 3, eventually getting to full interventional care for cardiac patients. But that's a number of years down the line. Yeah. But this is something that we can all be really proud of supporting. Yeah. Because right now, cardiac patients, we're shipping them to Kelowna, to Victoria, and to St. Paul's down in Vancouver. Yeah. And that's significant for people. If you're taking someone from Prince Rupert and they've had a heart attack, they're coming to Prince George, They're waiting in Prince George until they get a bed down south, and then a bed opens up in Victoria, and we're sending them down to Victoria. On that, not only the patient, but their family, that's significant. You're going from Prince Rupert to Victoria and getting your cardiac procedure done down there, and then you have to get home.
Yeah.
That's huge for people.
Or Mackenzie, Fort
Absolutely.
Nelson, Fort St. John, Telegraph Creek, Cassiar, on and on and on, all that north. And it's something like that so critically important, right?
Absolutely. It's critical for the north. We need to continue to close this gap. So we're really proud to be able to support this with Spirit, and be able to work with the team at Northern Health to say, okay, what is the gap and what does this look like?
Yeah.
And how can we bring this service to the north quicker?
Right. Yeah. And the other part is being, and I interviewed a paramedic, one of the person. Yeah, you probably saw it.
I did,
maybe.
yeah.
And they have now more and more special equipment and people that are specially trained, because with heart and stroke, heart attacks, strokes, and all of those things, time becomes critical of having somebody that has knowledge.
Yeah.
And then get them to a facility to stabilize, and then hopefully further to where they have to then go. And time is just absolutely critical.
Time is critical, and so we have to get the infrastructure in place. We have to get the equipment in place.
Yeah.
We have to get the staffing in place. We have to get the expertise in place. So it really, it's a very layered approach that we have to take. But steps are being taken to do that, which is, this is the start.
Yeah.
And, my hope is that in 8-9 years, we can look back and go, okay, we've significantly closed this cardiac gap, just like we've closed the cancer care gap in the north.
Yeah.
That'll be huge for Northern BC.
A friend of mine, there was a physician in Vancouver, worked for Copeman's actually, and I was involved in Copeman's for a bit. They do what I call bumper to bumper at fee for service kind of a basis.
Yeah.
He was a doc, and and it certainly put the emphasis in my mind on how critically important all of this is. He was probably much younger than me. I'm 82. He must have been 55, between 55 and 60.
Yeah.
Chris Dawkins is his name.
Okay.
He's a medical doctor, and that knows all those things. And he was outside of Vancouver somewhere, and he had a heart attack. Fortunately, his wife also had a medical background. They were lucky that the ambulance that got there had the right equipment. And it was on the news actually, on global news about a year, 2 years ago. They had the right equipment. If his wife would not have been knowledgeable, he would have died.
Unreal.
Then if the ambulance didn't have the right training and equipment, he would have died. Then they got him to the right hospital, whichever one that was, and if they didn't have that specialty equipment, this maybe even 4 or 5 years ago, then he would have died, but he survived all of that.
Unreal.
And kind of what it made clear, this can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And then how critical it is to have that knowledge, that availability. And that's why I appreciate it, like ambulance training, and all of those people are so critical to us as a population, right?
Absolutely. And I think everyone knows someone who's been sent to Vancouver for a cardiac procedure. My father-in-law's been sent twice now. And the second time it was in the middle of winter, and we were lucky. We were in a position that my husband could take time off work and drive down to then pick his dad and his mom up and drive them back home. But it's middle of winter and they're driving through the canyon. I mean, that
treacherous.
Yeah, and that's something that we see all the time. And then if you get We've got the northern winter, so if
Yeah.
you see a significant snowstorm and flights are delayed, patients aren't getting out that day.
Yeah.
So it really is, it's a very layered problem that's got layers that we need to work towards to close that gap.
Yeah.
But it's a significant gap up here right now.
Yeah, and a lot of times what I say, I came to Prince George in July of 1965, so I've been here nearly 60 years, and and this area is unique. It will grow and has all the things that we talked about earlier. But a lot of times funding for infrastructure to support what we already have here is not quite as readily incoming as it could be, and I keep reminding my friends down south and the politicians that probably 75-80% of the gross domestic product of the province of Columbia comes from the north.
Absolutely.
And I say, hey guys, don't forget it.
Yeah, exactly. We need infrastructure here. We need equipment here. We bring in so much. This is what we need to support the north.
Yeah, and at some point, the hospital, although they have been building onto it, and the cancer clinic, perfect and beautiful, but at some point, some very major investments will have to be made in the hospital to bring it up to where we need to be, right?
Absolutely, and we see more and more people age in place where people used to retire and head down south. Quite often people are staying in the north now, retiring
or coming
up here.
back.
Exactly, or coming back here. So we've got to be able to have the infrastructure in place to sustain this. So it's gonna require some investment.
Yeah, and then at the same time we need very proactive politicians in place that that talk about that all the time. A good example is Shirley Bond has done a fabulous job. A good friend of mine, and some of the other ones have as well. But she always stands out in my mind.
Yep.
And then the Prince George, as a city, and a community has shown leadership in the region. We have seen that and we see that with UNBC, we see it with the College of New Caledonia.
Absolutely.
As a regional that has all kinds of satellites in throughout the community, and we saw Prince George taking on a leadership position during the fires, forest fires, and thousands of people had to find other places, as the landscape is changing, the population base is changing, and the demands, it becomes more and more important for the communities together to take leadership roles to look at centralized areas for support in the region, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the North can be really proud of what we do because each community really rallies to accomplish the goals that they need to accomplish. And Prince George is, for a lot of years, it was called the volunteer city or volunteer capital of Northern BC because it is volunteer city. The community really rallies when we need to support different causes. So I know working in the nonprofit sector, it truly is the community that allows these nonprofits to accomplish some pretty incredible goals.
And they always step up to the plate amazingly. Right?
Always.
Yeah. And it makes it unique actually in terms of Prince George, because now in particular, and again, I cannot say it often enough, you look at UNBC, the highest rated small university in Canada, unique, and then the College of New Caledonia, it's an amazing city in that sense. Look at our new swimming pool here.
Absolutely.
The other thing about Prince George I always find amazing, and I've been very involved in, is we have a symphony. A community like this, and this already was the way 20-30 years ago, and it has been already for a long time. To see that in a community like this, I'm from Europe, I was born in Holland, and it's not uncommon there, but here it is, especially if it's been sustained so long.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it really is an incredible city, and we're very lucky to call it home.
Yeah, so that's what I think too. So that's what is happening to you now. So where are you going from here, and what other things are unique and exciting in your life?
So Spirit, we've got a really incredible group of volunteers that we work with.
Yeah.
We've got our board is wonderful.
Yeah.
And we're really lucky to work alongside them every day.
Right.
So we've got our usual events coming up. We've got Spirit Day coming up on May 11th, which is quickly becoming one of our signature fundraiser, which is wonderful. It's our 12-hour radiothon with 101.3 and 99.3.
Okay.
And then we've got our golf tournament that we do with the Prince George Cougars alumni. So it's the Alumni Charity Golf Tournament.
When is that?
That's July 7th and 8th this year.
Okay, talk a little bit more about May the 11th.
Yeah, so Spirit Day.
Has that's been an annual event?
Yep, it's been an annual event. Last year was our biggest year to date. We raised over $280,000 with a radiothon. One day radiothon. It's incredible. Yeah. And all the money that we raise with Spirit Day stays right here. It stays in Prince George at UHNBC.
What is the goal this year?
We're hoping for $250,000, which would be incredible.
Not unrealistic, right?
Not unrealistic. Yeah. I think the really neat thing about Spirit Day is that people can choose their passion. So they can pick which area resonates most with them. I know for me, cancer care really is a passion of mine. And so I make my donation towards cancer care. So we're doing chemo pumps for our pediatrics ward. Here, they need some new chemo pumps, so we're going to put donations towards that. We've got seniors health and wellness, which is another big area that we like to fund.
Okay.
And with seniors health and wellness, we just did it's called the Toffel system, and it's basically a big projector that projects onto a table different games. So it can be puzzles, it can be planting games, and it's just lights that move around, but it's for dementia patients. And so we just did 3 of those units at Gateway Lodge in their dementia neighborhoods, and we're looking at doing another one at Parkside. So we're excited about that. And then of course we've got cardiac, which is the big gap in the north. So we're doing some funding with cardiac. So people can really pick which area resonates most with them. We've also got the Lymphedema Fund, which is an incredible group of ladies that have worked for a number of years to fundraise, and we finally got the fund up and running. So what that is when a person is diagnosed with lymphedema, oftentimes the garments that they require aren't covered by MSP or by anything. Right. So it's out of pocket. And quite often it's seniors living on a fixed income. And so these garments can go anywhere from $200 up to $1,000. Wow. And so we've got this fund available now for them we will pay for the garments for individuals that are diagnosed with lymphedema.
So the people that contribute, they can either contribute to a specific area or in a general sense to whatever.
You can put it to general diagnostics, and then we put that towards the area of greatest need, or they can donate to a specific piece of equipment.
So what happens usually, just to kind of give me a general idea of the 250,000 that was the 280,000. So how much of it was to specific areas and which
So we had a significant amount, over 200,000, that went to precision radiation. Okay. So that was for the radiation couch. Yeah. We had, I believe it was over 40,000 that went to pediatrics, which was for the giraffe care stations last year. Yeah. And then the remainder went to seniors health and wellness. Yeah. And so we can really designate those funds exactly where the donor would like them to go. Yeah. And so it's pretty neat that all the money stays here. And then we have sponsors that sponsor each hour. Yeah. So they'll match donations up to a certain amount every single hour. So it really doubles your impact.
Yeah. The unique part about it, and we have always been involved in this, is that we want to know that it stays in the north. We don't want to have it, with all due respect to everybody else, that it goes in some big sinkhole and we never see it again.
Exactly. And the neatest thing about Spirit is that it goes to a piece of equipment at the hospital. Yeah. Like it stays right here. Yeah. And it's probably, that equipment could be used by your friends and family, by your neighbor. Yeah. It stays right here. It stays
it's physically local. It's there, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And it is making a major, which it is already, making a major difference to service. Yeah.
The current chemo pumps that we have for pediatrics, they're 13 years old and they need to be replaced at 8 years old.
Yeah.
So they're well overdue.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely we can help highlight that and fund that.
Right.
Another area that we're going to be funding with Spirit Day is our adolescent psychiatry assessment unit.
Right.
They need some new furniture up there, so nightstands,
Right.
and it can't be typical nightstands. It needs to be a certain grade that's bolted to the floor for safety.
Right.
But it's a unit that's frequented by youth, and we want to make sure that we've got a homier feeling for them versus the chaos of a hospital.
Right. So, and then you said that's the fundraiser for May the 11th. Then the next one was in July.
Yeah, so July is our Prince George Cougars Alumni Charity Golf Tournament.
Has been going on for quite a number of years, too, right?
Been going on for a number of years, and it goes to cardiac care. So they've done a number of pieces. Yeah, specific. Yeah. They've done a number of pieces of cardiac equipment over the years, and so we're really excited for this year. It's our 10th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
And the Prince George Cougars have always been so supportive.
Yeah.
The alumni, it's a wonderful tournament. We always have a really great time with it, and everybody is so generous at it.
Yeah. And anything else happening?
Yeah, so then we've got the Costco Kids campaign. So Costco does a kids campaign where all the money stays at pediatrics here in the Prince George, which is huge. Tim Hortons Smile Cookie campaign, another big one. And again, they keep all of that money to a specific piece of equipment at UHMBC. And then, of course, our flagship, our biggest event of the year, which is Festival of Trees. And this year it's going to be celebrating its 30th anniversary.
I was going to say, that must be close to 30 years or 25 years.
It is. Yeah. It's our 30th anniversary this year, so we're really excited. We've got a few ideas to really make sure that we celebrate it right.
Yeah.
And really pull the community in, make sure the community all feels...
It's always been a big part of the community, and then the big tree on top of the hotel, and
with United Way,
with United Way, and it really creates that spirit of the season, right?
It does, and we changed festival this year. We went from a 10-day format down to a 5-day format.
Okay.
Just to really, costs are rising, food prices are rising. We wanted to make sure that we didn't increase our ticket prices, and we could keep them as low as possible, because you don't want to price the community out.
Yeah.
So we went down to a 5-day festival and put all of our events in that 5 days.
Yeah.
And it worked incredibly well.
Yeah.
We were thrilled with the support and with how many people were there. It was wonderful.
Was it a big fundraiser in terms of dollars?
Yeah, it was a huge fundraiser. It was our top year to date, which is incredible.
Yeah, how much?
And over $600,000.
Unbelievable.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
And the best part is the Sunday, so the last day of festival.
Yeah.
We saw the most people we've ever seen through the doors.
And that was on a 5-day?
On a 5-day format.
Rather than a 10-day one.
Yeah. So we just had to get creative, and what does it look like to make sure that we can get the community there?
Yeah.
And keep ticket prices down. That is really important.
So what do you think about this year? Already decided what kind of it will be, and still working on some of the details around it?
Yep, so we're still working on some of the details, but we for sure will be a 5-day format again.
Right.
Wednesday through Sunday. We'll have all the signature events back at Festival, and then we'll add some surprises. We want to make sure that we celebrate 30 years. When you think about it, 30 years, that event has been planned by volunteers for 30 years. There's so many hours that have gone into that, from the committee to the day of volunteers that do admissions or that do the children's workshop, to the designers, so the tree designers, to the teams that put the trees together. It's an army of volunteers, and it's the most incredible thing to be a part of.
And needs organization, to keep it all kind of working together, because there's a lot of people involved, a lot of activities that have to be all coordinated.
Yes, it's all hands on deck for Festival. Our board leans in. All of our staff are making sure that we've got everything covered the way we need it covered, and then we lean heavily on our volunteers, and they really are the magic behind Festival. Yeah.
Other things that come to mind in your life that are this alone between the kids in the jobs. I know you're absolutely fabulous on being involved in the community and doing volunteer stuff wherever the opportunity arises, and so.
Yeah, it's busy, but it's fun, and I think it's really important to show, as a mom, it's really important to show my girls that you can do anything you put your mind to, and
Exactly.
and find something that you're passionate about, have a good work ethic. I think that's really important for kids to know.
And now your husband?
Yes, my husband. So he's a power engineer with Canfor at Intercon.
In his name?
Ryan.
Ronnie?
Ryan.
Ryan, sorry. Yeah, Ryan. So, and you couldn't do all of this stuff unless you had, there's somebody that is there for you, right? So
he's incredible. Yeah, he's incredible.
And he has been for many, many years. Because,
many.
Because as you already indicated, once you, made your choices in life, that may it be RCMP, may it be, should I be a banker, should I be all the other things that you mentioned, a stewardess. No, I just throw that into it. I don't know.
Maybe.
and because it's so timely in a way. Because did you get my books? I have to tell you a little bit about my books here. I don't know if you got this.
Yes,
one.
I've got that one.
Yeah. Did I sign it?
No.
Okay, I'm going to give you another one, and
thank
then
you.
I'm going to sign this one. This one is, for our guest, is Against All Odds. And it's not about hurrah, hurrah, John, how well he did, but in spite of all the things and falling down and standing up and doing it again over and over again, and all the challenges along the way, it's more about that than about hurrah, hurrah. And then if I say you stay the course, you will succeed, but the key is to stay the course. And so what I say about this one, it took me 80 years to live it, 20 years to think about it, trying on, then started it again, and then stopped and started it again, and then finally I said, if I don't do it now, it will never happen. So it took me 20 years to think about it, 2 years to write it, and this is the book. It's available on all the major media. It's also in audio. I did an audio of it.
Audible, yeah.
So I'm going to sign this one for you before you go.
Thank you.
And then the other thing is, I was not very successful in school. I failed grade 3, and nobody fails grade 3, right? Now, the other day I had a guest and say, yeah, they do. I failed grade 3 too. Oh, I say, okay, good. Makes 2 of us then. So in any event, and then I failed grade 7 3 times.
Wow.
And I kind of felt I was a failure. And, and then the other thing with me was, I was born in 1940 in northeastern Holland. We were liberated by the Canadians, April the 12th, 1945.
Wow.
It had such an impact on me that I always knew I would go to the land of my heroes. And I did. I was going when I was 17, and then I was drafted, and my parents wouldn't let me, and then I was drafted into the Dutch Air Force, drafted for 2 years, and then finally I went to Canada when I was 24.
Wow.
And this is the dream of going to Canada. The other dream that I had, I wanted to build my own lumber mill. And I wanted to start from the bottom with nothing. So I had 1 suitcase, 3 books, a couple sets of clothes, and then, and I knew I wanted to go to BC. And, and then when I flew into Montreal, came off the train in Vancouver, went to the immigration office. I couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, didn't have a job, and talked to somebody in the immigration department. Fortunately, the guy was German, and I could speak some German, and I told him what I wanted to do. I wanted to build my own lumber mill, and and he said, Prince George, that's where you have to go.
What made you want to build a lumber mill? Like, where did that dream come from?
Yeah, my grandfather was a master carpenter. I mean, in Europe, I saw pieces that he had built in churches and all. That was my grandfather. Unfortunately, he died when he was 45, and I never knew him, but I knew him through his work.
Oh, neat.
And then my dad managed a small lumber mill, not his own, but a small one. And so I developed that attraction to lumber. I loved hands-on and lumber, and that's kind of, yeah. And then since I thought of myself as having failed, and how would I ever get a job in Holland? Because the first thing they ask you is, okay, show me your diplomas. Well, I have no diplomas. You know? So I felt that, although I was quite successful already in what I was doing, but I didn't have that feeling.
Yeah.
So I felt I had to start over again. So by the time I got to Prince George here, and got off the Greyhound station here, I had, in my pocket, I had exactly $25.47.
Wow.
And, and then the other one is the foundation of my life: attitude, passion, work ethic.
Love it.
And what follows is success. And so it took me until I was here. When I came here, I was 24, and it took me until I was 57 that I walked into a store here, and I, for some reason or another, picked up this book, and the book said "Driven to Distraction," and I have no idea why I picked it up. And I started looking at it, and it said ADHD, and I said, "Oh my God, that's me." So I wrote in it in Dutch that now I finally know who I am. And then for at least 5 years, I never talked about it to anybody. My wife knew, but otherwise not, because I was ashamed of it. And then a certain amount of stigma against it. You know, it's a mental illness, right? Or whatever they called it. And, then I went, my doc that delivered our 2 daughters, I went to his office once, and he said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "I think I got ADHD." And he said, "Okay, well, let's check it out." And yeah, for sure, I have ADHD.
Wow.
And, and then for a long time, I didn't talk about it, because what am I going to do? Talk to the banker that I want to lend X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars and say, there's a slight problem here, I get ADHD. And say, "Oh my God, have a nice day," right? So, I call it a superpower.
Yeah.
So it took me quite a while until I felt I had to be more vocal about it, because I believe that the frequency of occurrence much higher than most people had anticipated. And now virtually on a daily basis, I meet people that said, "I've really never talked about it, but I have ADHD." And so then I thought, what I have to do is I have to write a book about it.
Good for you.
That's what I did. ADHD Unlocked. And it does not only talk about ADHD, but it also deals with the issue of slow learners, because that was me, attention deficit, if you wish. I'm not very good at sitting in the school for 4 years and learning about a whole lot of stuff that I will never use or has no interest to me. Rather focusing on what I want to do, the direction to maintain my interest in it. And that goes to the issue which is also addressed in the book, is micro certification in the education system, where we spend too much time making a too long a journey to complete something, and where somebody may have, and that's why I'm mentioning, may have a passion. I want to go into the lumber industry. Let that then be the passion, or let that be the area where we focus on, and then all the other things, they become secondary.
Well, when you think about it, when you do something you're passionate about, really you're at work more than you're at your own home with your own family usually. So you want to make sure you're doing something that fills your cup, that makes you feel like I've done good and I'm proud of what I'm doing and I'm passionate about the difference that I'm making, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and what I'm saying, Aimee, is that, like, in the mornings I get up usually around 5:30. I've been working since I was 14, so 68 years. And I usually, when I get up, I already feel I'm late, and I can't wait to go to work. And I always make my bed, and I always look back, kind of, make my bed, and then I go to work, and then that's my passion. I love to go to work.
Yeah.
Now that brought me to another one. So let me talk about this book first. Did I get you a copy of this?
No.
You will get a copy of this today
Thank
too.
you.
The book is specially written in such a way that it is readable for somebody that's a slow reader, or slow learner, or one that loses their interest maybe here and there. So you can go into the book in any different ways. The other one that's interesting about this book, a friend of mine wrote the foreword to the book, and she is a doc and an emergency surgeon. It is Tracy Lotz,
Oh, okay.
ADHD.
Wow.
Yeah, and so what I'm now saying is that ADHD is a superpower.
Yeah.
Do not focus on it and saying that it is a medical issue or whatever. It should not be a stigma. Anyway, the book also, an audiobook, is being very, very popular. And becoming more and more popular on a daily basis internationally. And then I said I have to write another book. So that book is now pretty much to the point that it is done. It is going to, as we speak, the book is being done. In fact, tomorrow they'll make the decision on the cover.
Oh, wow.
We already have the book is now written and done. Now it's a bit of a process. Obviously, after the first book, we became very good at it. We do our own publishing. We have an amazing team of people around us. And writing a book it can become very complicated. What paper should it be? What size should it be? What should the cover look like? What should the book look like on the inside? All of that is all very, very critical.
And what's the new book about?
I like it that you asked me that. I was going to come to it anyway. So the book is about finding your passion, living the dream.
Love it.
That's the title.
That's wonderful. I love it already.
Yeah, and I'll get you a copy of it. It will be printed in July.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
3 books, that's impressive.
Yeah, and then I'm going to do another one after that.
4 after that.
Okay. Are you going to ask me what is that about?
I was just going to say, what's that one about?
I'm going to sign this one for you too.
Thank you.
The next one will be about, you find this interesting, living young, dying old. That will be the title.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by it is that if you be careful in terms of treating your body as something that you only have one of it, treat it well, same as your mental attitude.
Yeah.
That's why all of that is important. And then, stay mobile and active. You don't have to become an Olympian but just stay active with your body. Be careful with your diets and treat yourself well. And then your chances of a longer life, and not only longer life, but a quality. The quality, age is just a number. I'm somewhat of an example. Most people tell me I'm at 82 and a half. I'm the oldest professional or the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America.
So
and
neat.
I still go to the gym. I just came from the gym this morning. They nearly killed me there, but I have a very good trainer that gets me ready for, I'm going to be competing again in November to get me ready for the provincials and the nationals and then the Arnolds. And I've been there before in 2017, 2018. I placed in the Northern BC for the provincials, came in second bodybuilding, third in physique. That qualified me for the nationals and the Arnolds.
Wow.
And then already I was, around the 70 or so, and it was the category they have is 50 years and older that I was competing against. They could be my kids, but I'm still going to win.
I was just you'll still win.
So that's kind of, so that's
neat.
Kind of the important things about it.
Those are 2 big books coming up. Those are neat.
Yes.
Good for you.
Yes. Any other things come to mind that you?
I'm trying to think now. Spirit's got a big couple of years coming up, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So we've got some big projects coming up that we're looking forward to, and some
Yeah.
announcements coming up. Actually, yesterday we did a tour of the simulation lab. Have you ever been to the simulation lab, the Northern Simulation Program at UHNBC?
No.
It is the neatest program.
Okay.
So they have simulators that simulate patients at the hospital, and these simulators can breathe and have heart attacks and present different
I love it.
ailments. And so that's where they train second year, third year nursing students, medical professionals.
Wow.
That's where they...
Where do they have that?
It's at UHNBC. And they've got, so the program itself is actually a mobile program as well. It'll travel throughout the north.
Wow.
So Spirit of the North has done a lot of funding for simulators. So we just did SimMan 3G Plus,
Okay.
which is a full-size patient.
Yeah.
And so we went yesterday and actually watched a second year nursing student do a simulation with him. And it's the neatest thing. I'll have to get you there and do a tour for you.
Yeah,
It is
I like
the
that.
neatest program. Just to work with students, and they get to experience some real life situations, which is really neat. And they're in a controlled environment where they can learn and they can get coached by their facilitators.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really cool.
Can I just sign this for you?
Oh, thank you.
Aimee,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
appreciate to have you as my guest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
you.
it. Thanks for having me.